Hello and welcome. My name's Cambell. This is Spiral Up. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And today we have Bobbie Richardson with us, or Bobbie the Messenger. And that's the name of her YouTube channel, so we'll leave a link below. And yeah, we've had a chat before on Tartari Australia, but this is our first one-on-one chat. So welcome, Bobbie.
Thank you very much for having me. Really glad to be here. Yeah, I actually just got a message from someone who follows you on Tartari and said, when are you going to do something more with Cambell? So that was really interesting. Just yesterday, I'm like, oh, well, actually.
Always the right time. I get that a lot too, actually. You should talk to this person. I'm like, yeah, that's tomorrow, or that's next week. So they always seem to happen at the right time, don't they? It's
yeah, divine timing, so to speak.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And I mean that's probably a good segue into a question, right? Timing. Bit going on in the world. And obviously 2 years, and a lot of people have been talking about February, March, and here we are halfway through February, and wow, I mean,
and look what's happened, right? Look how much the consciousness of humanity is starting to take up, form and stand up in sovereignty for themselves now. Like, that's one wave of energy that's come to support humanity's consciousness becoming more aware of itself. And can you imagine what's coming next after that and further down the road? This is getting exciting because we're starting to realize where we've given our power away to, and the story behind all that as well will come out too. So that's exciting.
It's very exciting, and they've even some MSN outlets are literally coming out and saying, well, it was pretty much all a scam, it never existed, and all this stuff. And Canada, their police chief, the guy who was threatening to send the army in, he just quit his job. And because none of the police officers are listening to him, he's saying, go out and arrest these people, and they're literally going out and just sitting in their cars for 8 hours and then going back and doing nothing. So they're scared, and this is, we're at this point, right? And what happens? Oh, war in the Ukraine, war in Korea. Oh my God, this is happening. Oh my God, this. They try and put their fear factor over the top of everything.
Something else. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're right.
And that's how they've always played the game, is that they tried to put their focus in on something else, so that we're, stuck in a perpetual loop of fear. And we're starting to see that pattern so clearly now, just from the last couple of years and how they played this game. They literally pushed humanity into awakening rather than thinking that they could expand their one where I was going to go. I don't really want to say those words in case, it makes this video less than, but we all know where we're going with that. Yeah, but I did get a strong message. This would have been probably 8-9 years ago, of a craft landing. This is one of those very vivid dreams that you just do not ignore. A craft landed, these etheric beings came out. They were vivid blue beings, very tall. They looked like beings from The Knowing, a movie called The Knowing, but they were vivid blue.
Is that the one
with Nicolas Cage in The Knowing?
Yeah, Nicolas Cage, yeah. And at the end, it's children,
so
right?
they morphed into a rainbow sphere, and then they wanted to morph into a humanoid, but they did it in such a manner by lying down beside me so that I wasn't afraid of them, because they knew that there was fear vibration coming from Earth. And they told me straight up, then the governments will fall. So I've known from back then that this leadership and the way that program has been relayed to humanity and enforced is going to break down. Their empire is falling, and it's conducive to the other messages that I got from other beings that we are now coming into balance with ourselves. So up till then, in the last eons of thousands of whatever eons, we'll just say eons, up till then, the energy was conducive to only our logical thought system being ruling everything, even our right hemisphere, which is our feminine side of ourselves, which is an intuitive, imaginative, and soul connection. Without that, the logical brain had to look outside itself to be competing with that, and then asked for someone to take leadership. And these beings came and said they were completely in sync with the energy of the logical brain being like consumerism, in other words, creating from grabbing from the past, projecting in the future, or even creating from a broken down home and creating another home. And all of that is to do with grabbing something that's already been, breaking it down. And there's nothing wrong with creating like that at all. But there's another way that had to be shut down, and that's creating from our imagination and our soul link to all of the past lives that we've had, and then creating through that imagining that we also have within ourselves. And so we had to look outside ourselves, and in looking outside ourselves, we ended up grasping for anyone that was conducive to that energy. They put up their hands. They knew how to deal with all of that side, you know, the living on Earth, not with Gaia and so forth. And then they showed us the next path of their reality. But that was just so we could learn all about that. Now it's shifting, and it's only just shifted like a year or so ago. So the very first step into bringing in our imaginative, intuitive right hemisphere, our feminine side starting to power up. And that means that the balance will start to come into play with masculine and feminine. No one's better than anyone else. We all come from love. It's just a conducive collaboration of realizing there's different ways to create reality. And then, like you seek truth of the past, and all of that starts to filter through, and then new things can be created. Completely new things can be created as we step into that.
Yeah, I think that's where we are now. Like, so many people, you know, they're going through this, you know, do I hold on to the past and hope it comes back? You know, all these jobs and mortgages and you know, like we used to live, right? You know, used to, because it's definitely that's another time now. But people are trying to grab onto it, and all this change. You know, people out there protesting, and they're like, yeah, let's have new elections. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So you know, there's this whole thing of, you know, people still want to create from the past, don't they? Well, that's all they know how to do. You know, all they've got is, like you say, they've been trained in their left brain. So to create, it's like you look around outside of you and get your inspiration from there. But clearly, where we need to go to create something new that hasn't been here before, which is what we all want, we can't create from the old, right? We've got to start projecting forward from the imagination, or whatever you want to call it, the mind, the source, and go that way. And I see this a lot right now. I think that's where we are. You know, people are sort of, you know, it's like you see people in relationships who have a lot of relationships, and they kind of, when it's breaking down, they find someone new while they're still holding on to the old person, and they jump across, you know, like they can't be alike. And it's a lot of people, I think, are like that at the moment. They're holding on, they're wanting, yeah,
it comes up, yeah,
exactly. Sorry. Right, then they find themselves in the same situation. And yeah, so I think it's about trust, right? People need to just trust that it's going to be all right, you know.
And the energy at the moment is conducive for us to be able to clear all of those little blockages. We're completely smack bang in front of ourselves with everything that comes up, whether it be some other relationship come in and it shift real quickly, and you're left gutted, and then you start to see the vulnerability that you had within yourself that you weren't supporting in yourself from that past relationship, right? So that relationship taught you just that, let it go, and then move into supporting who you are, so that the next relationship that comes in, you've supported that part of yourself. It won't repeat. It's all to do with supporting our really our feminine side of ourselves, which is the intuitive, imaginative side of ourselves. And there's the first wave will be the light workers that came here specifically for this moment, just to really help shift humanity burst through the bubble of the illusion. So humanity would have put out a call, and that call would have been, we're over the loop, we're over doing war after war after war and doing the same stuff. We know, we feel there's something else out there. They put out a call, and then that vibration got sent out to specific planetary places, vibrations, whatever you want to call it, that Gaia could be in sync with, because she has to be able to handle the vibration as well that comes here. And then people would have said, there's a call coming from humanity, souls and other planets. There's a call coming from humanity. Who wants to go on a mission? Put up your hand. So sucker us. Sorry. No. So quite a few of us threw up our hand and went, yeah, okay, we will go down there. That sounds freaking exciting. Let's go do that. And I can literally remember being born into this world of, I'm so excited to find out more about this stuff, and feeling my energy drop so low that all of a sudden I backpedaled and went, I don't know if I want to do this, and got born with the umbilical cord wrapped around my throat. Like the energy just went. I literally remembered it when I was diving in the ocean one day, and they said there's these big massive groper fish that are out there that you can spot, and I saw one in the distance. So I'm like, I'm so excited to go up and pat this thing, because they're friendly, right? Yeah. But as I started getting closer, this thing had this giant juju lips that were so huge it could almost suck me into its mouth, and it was massive. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about this, but my flippers were already, had the momentum happening. So I'm like backpedaling like this, and it just brought back all these memories of being born. Yeah. So what happens is we've fallen so low. We had to lose ourselves. We had to go into families. Light workers had to go into families that really pulled our energy under, and we lost a lot of our love vibration for ourselves in that. And that was meant to happen so that we could feel their vibration, because if we didn't feel their vibration and how stuck they were, how could we go back into the maze if we couldn't get ourselves out first? So it was a really amazing journey for a light worker to be born here in this present time. They didn't go as dark as what humanity did, lots of them, but for them it was massive. So now we are starting to come up, and that's what a lot of my the people that I do intuitive counseling for, I notice nearly all of them, I'm awakening gifts in them to be able to spark them into realizing what they've come from. Because my journey in itself has been guided by my soul tribe, my guides, and my connection to my soul, showing me all these different gifts that humanity has. And it's like they bring up one little gift and then it disappears, and then another gift. So I've had trials. I've actually literally could say 100% I've been telepathic, and 100% I've been telekinetic. Literally 100% that I've seen the elven world, the etheric world that goes between plants and humanity, bring them in. 100% that I've had visitations from UFOs and other beings. So I've had like snippets of all these things all the way through, so that in this time, when I do this intuitive counseling, I can pick up on the people's gifts and stuff and start to bring them through into that gift again. The first gift that light workers are going to start feeling is telepathy, because that is connection to the intuitive, to their soul, and that's the universal language of everything that resides on Earth. So everything alive that's living on Earth has the molecule DMT within it, and we have that same molecule within humanity that's produced by the pineal gland. We can link up with anything that's out there and not just gain the outside scientific messages from each animal, plant life and everything by chopping it up like a science does and only to that tube, so to speak. Literally feel into the message that the frog or the bird wants to gift us, and you can't get that from chopping the thing up. You can only get that by intuitively being telepathically linked in with them. And so there's so many gifts that humanity are going to, it's just going to expand our world no end, from all this other information that's going to come to us when we awaken our right hemisphere of our brain.
Yeah. I find it interesting, like the whole computer revolution is kind of getting us ready for this, isn't it? You know, you can kind of look at it as, you know, oh, they're you know, everyone starts to say, oh, they're bad, you know, they're spying on us, you know, metaverse, all this kind of stuff. But it, you know, that's given us the concepts of being able to speak to someone anywhere, you know, in the world instantly, and all these different things.
Yeah.
You know, we're literally, I think it's sort of, you know, learning tool, right? And also just, you mentioned your birth. What do you think about premature birth? Because I think I was a little bit early, but my second son, my baby boy, he was 11 weeks early. Like he was born just after 6 months, pretty much. He like fit in my hand. So yeah, like what do you, is that, what's that? Is that people like spirits just too eager to get in here, or what is it? Yeah, do you see anything with that?
I think with each one of them it's different. It depends on the soul and what the mission, like the energy that they're coming through in. It could be that they were bursting to come out and they wanted to just experience, and but then there could also be the challenge that comes with premature birthing, that the soul wanted to feel into that challenge and also gift the parents a feeling of really feeling that vulnerable, that the parents have even stronger connection to them. There's all sorts of different reasons why, coming from a physical side of it right through to that soul learning a lesson and linking with their parents. Maybe that soul wanted to link with the dad more than the mum, and so it prematurely gets birth so that the father can have more of a connection to it. There's all sorts of different reasons why. I couldn't like, I suppose I'm tapping into a little bit there. That could be a reason why you have, but I wasn't expecting to tap into your.
What I always think
that's okay. We can do that.
Is it would that's obviously when you're born, that's your, you know, astrology chart, right? That's sort of the, you know, you're born under certain signs. So if you're born, you know, premature, you're born as a completely different person, really, right? So that's what I always think about is, at some point it must have been pre-planned. Because I believe that when we come down here, we choose, you know, what energies we're under and all this, so that we get certain, you know, traits and all that kind of stuff.
And how much we can handle as well. We might look at that vulnerable little baby and it's already, it's fine. It's like, I'm thriving, I'm fine. You don't really know exactly, even when someone's in pain, and that exactly how bad that pain is, or how they can deal with it, or what they're learning from it, or, you know, we think that we have empathy for other people and what they're experiencing, which is absolutely well and truly well and good. Obviously we need to have empathy, but also at the with the wisdom that that person might be going through a certain thing for a certain reason, and for a good lesson for their soul to expand. So that's important to recognize that as well.
Definitely. So the people coming in. That obviously, you know, like the waves of you know, light workers or whatever we want to put on. That's how it sort of comes from Dolores Cannon, you know, from her regression work. So is that what you? Because clearly a lot of us. Oh, you don't know Dolores Cannon?
I know her, but I've not looked at any of her work. I've only know that she's done hypnotherapy, and that's about as much as I know. I know she was on the Mike Moore show that I was on, but I think I looked at about 5 minutes of one of her videos and went, oh yeah.
Yeah, she started
and then went on to the next
back in the 80s, I think it was, or probably earlier, I don't know. But when she was regressing people, all these people started saying the same thing over and over, like, we're here, you know, I'm part of the first wave, we've come in to, you know, raise the vibration and all this, and she sort of also introduced like the NPC sort of topic, you know, these, what she called them background people, that there's all these you know, not, you know, people that we see as people down here that aren't actual people, they're just sort of background projections or something.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah, how do you see that?
Could be seen as, I see it as like they've shown me my reality in different perspectives. So there was one point where they showed me my reality as like a bubble, and so my reality would only reach as far as my consciousness could see and experience in sight, hearing, feeling, smelling, everything. That's it. That's as far as reality goes. It literally didn't go any further. And then they'd show me another person with their bubble, and that's God's source energy learning through their bubble of their creation and what they're experiencing, some of the frog and everything. And then sometimes you'd merge bubbles, right? And when you merge bubbles, then you're sharing vibration. So background people would be, for me, somebody that's kind of like watching a movie and you see that background person that's walking past, you might notice them for a second, but it doesn't really affect your reality much at all. But that's kind of just there, just like when you walk down the street. And I know you've probably had this as well, where you've seen certain people like 10 years ago, and then a couple of years later, they're not the same person, but it just reminds you of them. They're so similar, you almost think that background people repeating themselves in my reality, because you're the one that's conduciently creating it, and you're the one that allows certain vibrations to come and go. So there's different ways of looking at our reality, though. That's all different ways. That's one way. If you come at it from source energy, we're like a string that's traveling through a vortex that's a torus, like a donut shape, and going on an exploratory journey away from our love of ourselves and then coming back. And then, you know, there's just all sorts of ways. If you saw a human's perspective through the eyes of a frog or a snail, it's completely different, see? So we've got to remember there's just trillions of different life forms just on Earth itself, let alone out in space. And so there's a lot of different perspectives of reality. Is one of them truth? No, they're all truth. They're all experiences. And so truth just becomes experience. That's all it is. And it's all relevant to the person that's going on the journey to explore that. And and that in itself should never be judged because that person wanted to do something different, which this then expands us into our imagination and allows us to experience totally new things. Our imagination has been put into hostage. We've been literally held in hostage by the program and used by those that are in charge of us in the last phase that we've just gone through, just so that they can stay at the top of the pyramid, which they were supposed to do. But now bringing our imagination back can create a whole other existence, whole other worlds. We could expand into way more, because humans' consciousness can use both consumer creation and etheric creation, and combine them both to create a brand new world that's conducive with Earth, with communicating with Gaia and saying, well, if I want to plonk my house, that I want to build and chop down this tree and put my house here, now instead of just doing it without blazingly asking Earth or feeling into her, or, you know, we can literally ask her, do you mind if I do this? And the tree and its feeling of whether it wants to become a house and all that, and it will be gifted to you. And then Gaia herself and her energy will clear the animals so that they don't get hurt, or the ones that need to get hurt will get hurt. You know, it's a collaboration of energies rather than enforcing my consumerism onto you, which is what we've come from. So we're becoming more humane, which is in our name, human.
Human, yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Power of man. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I agree. We all live in our own, you know, they tell us, right? He's in his own little world. We're all in our own bubble, right? Of perspective, I guess, is what it is. And this is the thing with what's going on. I mean, are we talking about NPCs or other beings? We don't know, but do you think everyone's going to wake up? Or do you think that because Dolores Cannon also talks about the split, you know, about like creating a new Earth, literally, where the higher vibration people go, and then, you know, this one stays here, and so all the people who want, you know, who are vibrating with it. Do you see something like that happening?
Mm-hmm. The information that I'm receiving is that split is a genuine perception of reality that can happen because some souls aren't ready to come. But we are literally moment by moment at the moment creating something new, and nobody exactly knows how that's going to work. So we could end up waking up way more than what we thought. I was told 2/3 to 1/3 that would be woken up, but I'm like letting that go now again, because that's what I constantly get told to do whenever they give me messages. Clean the canvas, because the energy shifts, and then you don't want to be holding on to something that brought you to this step, which gave you clarity of where I'm at right now, but not conducive to me expanding my step to the next level up. See, so I will blank the canvas. And that's when you were talking, I was prepared to say straight off the bat what I usually say, 2/3 to 1/3. And then I just got this message, reality's shifting, you're creating it as you're going. So I'm like, okay, I have to bring that up now. We don't know exactly where everything's going to go. And that in itself, the unknown, is the leap of faith into knowing that our soul is as the observer of ourselves, only wants the best for us and will only bring us to the best end result. It's our logical brain that hangs on to, but what ifs? It literally has a problem that happens in our past, holds on to that story so tight because it's scared that if it comes up again, it won't recognize it. So it holds on to it so that we remember it, to recognize it so we can get out and it's to safety, right? And in doing so, we have focused on that and brought it back to ourselves. So that's all the old program, because the left logical side of ourselves does not know how to create. It literally doesn't know how to create the next step. And that's been proven by Dr. Ramachandran, who did studies on both of the brain. My guides led me to him and Jill Bolt Taylor. So if you want to look those people up, Dr. Ramachandra and Jill Bolt Taylor. So first of all, he did a study on someone who had the right hemisphere, the right hemisphere that went down. So there's only the left hemisphere left. That meant that their hand was disabled when he went into the hospital to see them. And it just happened. He said to them, how's your hand? But because it was the left hemisphere left and it can't shift reality, before the stroke happened, the hand was still fine. So they don't understand now that their hand is disabled, that even to the point where they tell themselves it's not their hand, they just cannot understand it. And then when we go to Jill Bolt Taylor, she was a neurologist. She had an experience where her left hemisphere went down. So she had a right hemisphere there. And she said when she was feeling into it, she saw a hand disappear into the wall became a hand, she became expansive, and as everything, she was everything that was around her was her as well. So that meant that the right hemisphere is connecting us to everything, and that's why we will be able to communicate with everything through our intuition and our communication, our telepathy. But the left logical hemisphere is only here for what it's just as vital. It's half your brain, right? You won't want to belittle it either, but it's here to bring us into a lineal story so that source energy can create separation and actually have a story to be able to rub against. Like, I can meet you and you're not part of me now. So that means that I can say hi to you and see you as a separate entity and then learn from you. So same with everything else. The logical brain brings us into separation so we can create an adventure, an awesome adventure.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes back, I guess, to the creation. You know, how did we get here? Like, there's that the theme of, you know, there was just one and it couldn't experience anything, right? So it had to fracture and itself into many pieces so it could experience, you know, things, anything, right? Interact with itself. And this is the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
We're all one.
Yeah.
You know, fractally, we all come from the same source.
And it all starts with love. It is just love. Yeah. So that means your logical brain is just as vitally important, and you should love that just as much as your intuitive brain. Both sides. And it was an imbalance in humanity not understanding both sides of themselves that was fighting and brought them into a warring situation, which in reflection brought a warring situation in their reality. Hence, we've gone through all these wars through the imbalance of ourselves. But when we start to unite back into allowing the power of the feminine to rise just as equal as the masculine side, and both being part of the creation of the next step, we won't be warring. So we're stepping into what they would call, I suppose, the stories. Lots of people bring in the fifth dimension, sixth, seventh, eighth, whatever one you want to choose. The different perceptions of experiences. So the higher reality you go up, like fifth dimension, you're at a different perception. Sixth dimension is a different perception again, and so forth. So you could choose.
Do you see it as
you want to have a perception? Yeah.
So are they all here? Like all these different dimensions? Are they
perceptions? Everything.
Physical space.
Everything is. Yes. Everything resides at the same time. It's whether our consciousness can tap into it and explore that. If we're coming from unbalance, we can only explore up to this lineal state of awareness, which means you wake up in the morning and you do your work and it's all physical, and then you go to sleep. But we're stepping now into allowing intuitive side to come back in, which means everything expands. That means we're bringing in all these different perceptive awarenesses of ourselves and be able to create a totally different story. And because we're connected to our soul, we will only be taken to what makes us feel glorious or beautiful, or, you know, and stepping into an awesome place. Yeah.
It's I just see it at the moment. There's such a big shift right at the moment, but what I'm seeing is, you know, I call it the Mr. Smith complex, right? Have you seen the Matrix, when Neo's walking down the street and then everyone around him turns into, you know, the agent, right? And he says, you know, and then Morpheus says, see, you got to be careful because everyone's, you know, an agent. And at the moment, there's all these, it's really bizarre. All these people are suddenly, that seemed quite normal, are suddenly out there ranting and raving, and everyone's a shill, and they're all their focus has gone on to trying to bring down other people and their beliefs, and they're wrong and I'm right, and all this weird stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that just?
They're all coming from their own lack within themselves, though. And if you're in amongst that, then you have to look at what you're lacking within yourself. What aren't you supporting? So they're just projecting onto somebody else what they're not supporting within themselves. As soon as we start and take back our support of who we are, we're no longer looking outside ourselves for someone to feel that. And that means that if they come into your reality and then they walk away, whether it's good, bad, and different, if you haven't supported that part of yourself, then you'll feel a big hole within yourself, and you'll start projecting outward to try to reach that back again, and you grasp and you start getting angry with people for not being there and trying to turn them into and control them into what you want, because it's this energy right now here is literally asking us to come back home. I mean, even within my own right, I've gone through something recently, and I went to explain it to the one person that I thought I could explain it to, and they just went, stop, I don't want to know about it. And I'm like, what? So I went into my room and I bawled my eyes out, and then I realized Spirit's bringing me back to myself to acknowledge what I'm not accepting in myself, and what aren't I supporting. That part, that thing that I wanted to tell that person, I was not supporting. If I reached out for them to be the one that's going to save my day, then it still leaves me with a hole when they leave. It's more important right here, right now, to turn everything back into what am I supporting. We're talking physically. What are you feeling about your body? Are you physically supporting that? Are you supporting the your intuitive side, your imaginative side? Are you supporting the logic of yourself as well? Because it's all needing to be supported. Your spirit, heart, everything. And then anyone can come to us then with their hoo-ha, and you just go, water off a duck's back, doesn't really matter, whatever, that's your reality. And you don't give them any energy, which leaves them with the same hole that they still need to cope with filling up themselves. That's lifting us into higher frequencies, because we're no longer searching outside ourselves for something to be filled, which is what we've just come from, right? And that's why we ended up with a leadership, with the governments and everything telling us what to do, because we didn't take responsibility for our own sovereign right of existing on this planet right here, right now. Yeah.
So you say it much better than I do. I just say everything's your fault.
Pardon?
It's
your fault.
Everything's your fault.
It's your fault.
It's your fault.
It's your fault, and then you turn the finger back on you and go, oh, shite. That's one of the first time that ever happened. Like years and years ago, I was with a holistic counselor, Caroline Bird. She's a lovely person, and she taught me. She said, everything to do with your ex-husband, I just want you to pour out everything that you dislike about him and just throw it on this. But don't hold back, because I'm pretty conservative with myself and not wanting to be mean. I just wrote it all out. Biggest thing that it said was he never supports my artwork, he never supports who I am and my feminine state, that I see things, he never supports. And then I realized when I turned it around, because she said, make all of his name your name. And I turned it around and went, it's true. My self-talk was, I'm not good enough, from my past, from when I was a kid. So we've got to really start to change our self-talk on who we are. I want everyone to become the powerful beings that they are. If we all step up and become the leaders of our own reality and create our own reality and not need someone outside of ourselves, we're no longer searching for something to fill those gaps. That means no one can control us anymore, because we're all saying we all deserve, right? And we can create a world of absolute magnificence and beauty from all the wisdom that we have, logically and intuitively, and connection.
And when we understand that we're the creators, we don't need to take, right? We don't need other people to create things that we can take from them, like all this physical money and stuff. We can just create what we want. So it's it sort of gets rid of a lot of, you know, it's a massive, I mean, it's a massive change, because we don't even know what a world like that is really, when people are actually responsible.
No, that's right. But it happens because you start to change it on the inside, right?
Mm.
I did exactly the same thing with money. That was something that I had trouble with. And they told me it's all to do with self-support. Like the more you support yourself abundantly and knowing that the universe will supply, the more that the universe can gift. So the first step that my guides were telling me was, well, are you ready to receive? Are you ready to actually accept? And I didn't realize I couldn't accept, because they said, imagine all the work that you've done, because I've done a lot of work for free with all the videos, over 200 videos just for free. And then I just went, well, if that's the case, I would see a treasure chest full of gold, right? Just spilling over. Yeah, anyway, my guide said, well, if that's the case, it's already there. It's in the ether waiting for you to grab hold of. So then the next partner that I had, which was only for a month and a half, was extremely wealthy. And then he takes me shopping, says, you can buy whatever you like. And I'm going into each shop and I come out with nothing. we started off with buy these $200 pair of shoes, to jeans, to a candle. I couldn't even take a candle. It was so sad. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I have a problem of accepting. And then the next step is I was still in a job that wasn't giving me the money that I appreciated. And I said to my guy, I actually got angry this day. I'm like, that's it, I've had enough. I want everything I want my treasure chest. I am over this. I deserve. And they're like, okay, we will give you something, but no backsies. If it's done with integrity, I said, that's fine. But they said, no backsies. You're not allowed to say, you know, that's too much or nothing. Okay, I'm fine. I'm going to receive. I put my hand out. I'm receiving. 3 days later, a very dear friend of mine I only just met over Zoom links and stuff like that, but he's got a beautiful family in USA. I won't say exactly where, in USA, and he just randomly, like through a few days later, he just sends me a message and said, there's some money for you in your PayPal account. And I looked in, and the first message that popped up said, learn to receive. That's what he wrote on it, learn to receive. And it was $1,000 in my account for nothing. So wow. I'm like, I'm not allowed to say backsies now. I'm not allowed to say it's too much. I'm not allowed. It was hard. It was so hard. And I realized just how much I had not allowed for abundance. And then I got just randomly led, after I said I'm ready to be speaking out more now and channeling more for more people. I got led to Kevin Moore, who I didn't even know was somebody who was fairly famous in the retrospect of interviewing people. I had no idea who he was. I sent him a message. He believes somebody else sent him that message. Who knows? Something in between happened there. And then a few days later, I'm on his show, and I've had thousands of dollars worth of money just pouring in the last few weeks. So it's like, this is what I mean by we're taking back I needed to say that so that people realize people are actually doing this work and it's working. We are taking back our supporting of ourselves, and the universe will supply. We have to have that faith and leap of trust to jump off the cliff and see where it takes us.
It's a big one, this whole accepting thing, right? I mean, we're taught our whole lives that we're not worthy. Literally, that's what the schooling system is for, pretty much. Oh no, you're not that worthy. You're only worthy of being, an accountant or a whatever, a plumber. That's all you are. So we don't, and we see it all the time, right? We see, you can see two, plumbers, say, and same age, supposedly earning around the same money and that, and one will, have his house and his boat and he's always having fun and traveling around, and the other one will be broke. And it's like, how does that work? And clearly it's just a mistake, because I mean, that's one thing I had to sort of deal with it, when I started my channels, is just literally, you know, all the compliments and stuff you get, right? All these beautiful people out there, you know, sending you nice messages. And like, even that, like, it took me a few months, and like, I just said, well, I've just got to accept it. And I just, you know, you start saying thank you or whatever. But even that, right? Even compliments. So you can imagine how many blocks we've got to, you know, receiving, you know, the treasure chest. But I mean, I'm definitely working on that too at the moment. And it's annoying because I can see stuff happening, but it's just not happening fast enough. So I think I might have to focus on it a bit more.
Maybe you're going to get get angry with your guides like I did. It's actually me bursting out of my bubble. It really had nothing to do with my guides. It was me going, that's it, I'm just having yeah. I've had enough of working for peasants. And I know that to be the leading example for the next wave that's coming, you know, that is part of us learning to support ourselves so that we can show, I mean, in the end, abundance has nothing to do with money, although like money is how the system works, but abundance has everything to do with not carrying nothing on your back and knowing that every moment that you need something, it is presented to you. You will always have what you need, where no matter how big, small or anything, it's just an absolute reflection of you supporting who you are and stepping into that. That's what abundance, true abundance is. Otherwise you end up with bank balance, you know, blooming insurance schemes and stuff, because you're fearful. It comes from fear, and you're scared that you're not going to get enough in the future. So you constantly trying to hoard and put it on your back. There's an actual Mayan calendar that has this character in the middle of the Mayan calendar. I have it on my computer where he's carrying something that looks like a computer on his back. He's literally, and he's hunched over, he's carrying the system. And that is a picture on the Mayan calendar from a long time ago. We're talking well before computers came out. But if you look at it, it's a computer. It's got a keyboard, a little mouse and everything. Yeah.
Wow. There's some interesting.
I could find it. I think I'm not sure if I can
send
share
it to me, and I'll
but...
whack in the video. Yeah. Because there's a few there. There's, I think they're in, oh gosh, where are they from? Mesopotamia, maybe. But people with tablets and things and laptops and all this weird stuff, like back from 4,000 years ago. So, yeah, it's just all a big, I think, repeating, right? Just on the anger bit, like there's this whole thing of, you know, everything's got to be peaceful, right? You know, and I agree, you know, everything should be done with love and peace. But what's your view on, you know, righteous anger, shall we call it? You know, like just, you know, because there's this sort of whole, you know, I can't even think, this whole paradigm of which we were given, right, from all the gurus in the 90s and that, you know, oh, you just got to sit there and just believe, and you know, all this stuff, just be loving and sit on a cushion and everything.
But is that stepping into your power, right? Is that stepping into your power? I like, if you saw a powerful being, they would be so, really, if you imagined somebody that came off a spaceship and they were a powerful being, that say a Pleiadian person, you look gentle and kind and all of that and loving, just like you're talking about the spiritual world. But if somebody came up to them, they would know instantly to be able to put a affirmation. I don't know what they're trying to tell me here, but I was going to say a word I've never heard of, affirmation. Anyway, bubble around them of protection, let's put it that way. And so that anything that came would just bounce off them, but they would be standing in such power within themselves. Now, anger and all of those emotions, they're absolutely part of humanity, and in certain moments with assertive, we need to be assertive. We need to be able to control those as well, though, right? So in that moment, in that very moment, I needed to be assertive and go no, and then straight after, we need to be able to come back to who we feel good about ourselves. So it's like ice skating and learning to stop quicker. So you still need to know how to stop, then you can go faster. So you can explore your emotions as much as you like, and you know that when something comes at you and you need to use that emotion to stop some energy coming towards you, you've got that power to be assertive for yourself. So there's still power within you to be assertive and say, absolutely no way, you don't go any further. But instead of a reaction, it's more of that this is my reality. No, that's not part of who I am. And it does start to change as we progress. Your emotions will start to shift anyway, because it would just be a natural given, but we need to be able to take our power for who we are. I think there's a story called The Buffalo White Woman in USA. She ends up seeing this is the story that I heard. She came across two males that saw her and all her glamour and beauty and how gorgeous she was. And one of them's drooling and he's just all sexual and blah, blah, blah. And she just feels into his energy, and she just went like that. And his vibration, he went through his life, but in her vibration, he's dead. So he disappeared. He just literally went into dust. And so she's like, no, you're not existing in my vibration. So what is that? Is that beautiful and gentle? I don't think so. That's you just don't exist in my vibration, mate, because you're coming at me too lustfully and not respecting who I am. And then she got to talk to the other fellow. That's the story that went there. So there's a lot of power, and we need to take that back too.
Yeah,
that's
I
part
agree.
of the lesson.
I agree, and that's why, yeah, it's a noise. I don't get
also anything that's, yeah, and anything that's outside of us that's coming at us that makes us fearful is literally us not supporting the power within us. We will never ever be reflected with anything outside of us that we don't hold that power that we thought they were within us. In other words, if you're feeling a victim to something, you are not standing in the power of who you are to be in reflection to them. You're literally giving your power away to them so they can have it by being a victim. But when you stand in we've seen little girls in that just stand in their power when something's coming at them. And I've seen videos of soldiers going to hurt them, and then they just stand in their power, and then they just can't. It's just this, because they know who they are and their sovereign right of existing here on earth. Too many humans have given away their power to an authority outside themselves because they forgot who they are from within themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and all these things really, I look at them as, they're attacks, right? People coming in and trying to change your perspective and all this kind of stuff. And with me, it's always I go from very calm and collected to you don't want to be around me in like half a second. If someone, as soon as the whole topic of I need to listen to someone or I need to do something because someone told me, I can't even, I'm getting better at it, but my whole life I literally, and I'm just, as soon as anything about anyone having control over me, I just flip a switch, and I'm just like, and they're like, and I see their faces. It's always like they just leave. They just, because that's,
yeah,
that to me is one of the strongest things that we've got. And I see it as well as, I don't take on a lot of karma. I don't have a lot of, shadow work and all this kind of stuff, because I just don't take it on. I will not take on someone else's crap. And as soon as I feel they're starting to do that, it's bang. And it's like, and when that happens, they know never to bring that topic up again with me. My family are a bit slower, they don't get it so much. So
because you've got a heart connected to your family as well, and that makes it a bit more difficult. I totally
think
get
that's
that.
such a big point.
I did the same with my daughters. Yeah, I was getting angry and upset because that's what I was trained to do by my family. Like, if you're an angry person, then we will listen to you. But I was a quiet little mouse, so we won't listen to you. So I started to take on the responsibility of to be heard, to be angry. And I realized it was getting out of hand when I ended up at school with my children in our early whoops. So I'm like, there's a problem here. You know how you get your kids off to school. Come on, get your shoes on. Come on, we're gonna go. And then I get there an hour early and went, I got a problem. Oops. So I went back into myself. So I went back into myself and I went, okay, how can I shift this? And I literally, it sounds a bit crazy, but I split myself into two fractions. I went, there's a red queen and there's a white queen. So the white queen will always come out in a peaceful manner, and we're playing games and we're having fun and all that. But if the kids push me, I'll warn them, the red queen's going to come out. And that gave me a feeling of she's allowed to be present and I can still control that. So in that moment, she could come out. No, you don't do that. You don't talk to me like that. You need to respect me. And then I go back to the white queen straight away. And I don't have any like holding on to the story or anything like that either, which is what, you know, I've been brought up like my parents are more likely to hold on to the story. So this is all about taking our power back. That worked for me. Everyone's going to be able to find their own way through how to take their power back, but that worked for me.
Yeah, I think boundaries are huge. You know, you've got to tell people what the boundaries are, or else they're just going to keep coming in and taking jabs and trying to get you connecting back to the 3D world. So yeah, I think we all need a bit of, you know, or we at least need to think, you know, we'll see, you know, a bit of, you know, righteous anger, not as a bad thing. You know, it's just, you know, I think it's fine. You're allowed to be who you are. And the way I look at it is, you know, it's like you said, you always give people, you know, hints. You know, you might want to slow down, don't go there, no, bang. So it's these people are really causing it for themselves, as far as I see it. Like they're coming up trying to push you, and they're the ones missing something. And if you go get away, bang, well, that's for them to deal with, as far as I'm concerned, because that comes under, you know, that's trying to do harm. That's trying to change someone's position, trying to take power over them, and that's the law. You do no harm. So I have, I think we all should be a bit more righteously angry. But the whole energy thing, I used to, when I was like in my, I don't know, sort of 17, 18, I guess, at 20, when I used to go to parties and things and pubs and that, I used to, when I'd walk in, before then I'd pump my energy out and I'd try and make myself as big as I could. And the game was, when I walked in, I'd try and get as many people to notice I'd walked in, right, to look around and look at me without, like, you know, just by walking in, by not saying anything. I think that's a really, it was a good game, and it just makes you stand in your power. So, you know, you start to realize that you are bigger than you think, you are more powerful, and it's your energy. You can walk in and people will just turn around and they'll be, and you just get respect, and no one is going to try and talk bad to you because they see who you are. You know, it's like, so you stop it before it begins. So yeah, I might have to do a video on how you do that.
That's really cool that you could do that. Yeah, I've done it. I've been in a pub once where I've just gone, I wonder what happens if I send all my love out to everybody. Yeah, that was probably not the best.
A lot of drunk men coming up, did you?
I did. I got drunk men, I got drunk women, got drunk everyone. Jeepers, it was a really freaking busy night. I'm like, maybe or in a pub again, in a nightclub. But yeah, I did try it, and I'm glad I did, because I saw the response immediately when I just went, okay, well, it was unconditional love. It wasn't sexual love, but because they're all drunk, right, sexual love come back. So and that's, I could handle it, so that was fine. But yeah, I realized it's not probably the best.
No, you got to maybe pick your venues where you're going to do it.
Places.
Yeah. You can do it with anything. With
amongst all the
power, with whatever you want, you know.
Yeah.
Try walking in a room and thinking you're really smart, and see people come up and ask you questions. You know, just play with the matrix and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, have some fun with it.
Yeah, intention. Your intention. Yeah.
Because once we
Sorry.
no, yeah, no,
your intention of who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And once you prove that to yourself that you can do it, then you understand you can pretty much do what you want, right? But this is the thing, we tend to sort of learn and go up, and then it's like go up 4 steps, go back 3, go up 4. We never go back down to where we started from, but we sort of have these epiphanies and do all this stuff, and then we have problems staying there, don't we? I'm just thinking.
Yeah, that's because we're afraid of what that means. Like, if we stay in that vibration, are we still accepted by the outside world because we haven't supported who we are fully to begin with before we stepped into it? So once we support who we are fully, then we step into it, then we'll notice not only we will step into it, other people will too, because it will be a natural progression that our reality, everyone in it starts raising their vibration too. Yeah.
Which is like the white buffalo, is that a name? We can accept people into our reality too, right? And that's what's happening now, is all these sort of soul groups or soul family things are sort of forming. Everyone's sort of finding these random people that they didn't know existed, and forming all these groups and starting to do things, right? And that again kind of proves the whole energy vibration. It's the same thing, right, as walking into a room. It's like if you're in the state of, yep, this is happening, the Great Awakening, awesome, I'm finding all my brothers and sisters, well, it just happens, right? They literally just come out of the ether. It's insane. Like I didn't know any, like a year ago, I didn't really know any, channels or clairvoyance or tarot readers or any of that kind of stuff. And now I just know so many, and it's just from people contacting me. It's bizarre. It's so, and I'm just taking that as well, that's obviously what I need to learn, right? So I'm sort of, trying to follow the message.
You're in it, and you're in the limelight, so you're like, hello, that's gifted you. But really, yeah, I know. That's you took that, you did that.
Yeah.
And it's gifted them to come to you as well, which is fantastic. It's like when you stood in the same sort of energy as when you walked into the pub and puffed up your energy of everyone's gonna notice me as a guy that you don't mess with. And
it's just weird how it works. I mean, I'd never planned to start YouTube channels or anything. I don't really know how I got here, but yeah, I just seem to, what I've noticed is, I don't know, a bit like a light, and everyone is kind of seeing me and contacting me. It's really weird, but I guess that's what it's all about, right? I might just be the person who's the connector, right? Just trying to get everyone connected up, and I'm one who happens to, have a channel or whatever, so everyone can see me. And it's interesting.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, well, I got told to start Spiral Up. I got like a message, and I was like, what the hell? What do I do? And here I am, right? What's this? Probably 2 years now, this channel. And I've just spoken to so many people that I would have just never known, and all this stuff and the other channels. So I think a big thing is, just trust, right? Even if it sounds crazy, if you've got a feeling or a thought or whatever, an intention to do something, just give it a go. If it fails, you're at least going to learn something.
The energy is really conducive at the moment for people who are doing this sort of work now, because there's going to be a wave of people wanting to find out more about that side of themselves that's been locked down for so long. So we're here for that purpose, right? We're kind of somehow guided, put in the place of, like, I was obviously in a relationship wasn't conducive for me being who I was meant to be, and so that just came down with a great big tower moment, and that sent me on a vibration of, well, who am I, and now I've got to step into trusting my intuition 100%, because I already get messages and stuff. Well, let's just go live. And like the beginning of last year, I just went, that's it, I'm going live. And so, and now all of a sudden I'm getting bigger interviews. And yeah, so it's just anyone who's out there that's really feeling a pull to do something, don't, you know, especially if it's to do with creative endeavors, anything right, feminine brain, it's going to be supported so that it comes up in balance with the masculine side of ourselves as well. Yeah. And so I would say go for it, because you will be supported now.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, don't focus on how you're going to do it, you know, which we've been taught to do, right? A lot of people are like, no, I want to buy land and start a community. Oh, but land's so expensive, I've got no money. But, and that's just how we've been taught to think, that everything's external. But when you understand that wealth is wealth and it can come from anywhere, it's just energy, right? It's just the ether. Then yeah, all you need to do is get started and believe, and keep going. One of my other sayings is, you know, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway. And I think that's where we've got to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I just went, well, I don't know what I'm doing, but I just do, like I was told to do my whole story from birth till now, within the all the energy work and the spiritual connections and everything. So we did all of that. And if I look back at those videos now, I'm like, wow, yeah, I was raw. Let's put it that way. But it was worth it. It got me out. Like if I say everything that's happened to me, which is very, very weird stuff, like I've got thousands of stories, honestly, of very different stuff. Then to look at that, if I get all that out, anything else from there is easy.
Yeah.
Because it was so out there. You know, we're talking about beings coming and walking in my room and my windows exploding with angelic beings on it, and I wasn't even religious, and giving me messages from, you know, extraterrestrials to elven people that were coming to visit me, and getting synchronicities in the real world of real things happening to go coincide, talking to elder telepathically. We're talking about telekinetic stuff. You know, it was just crazy and way outside the curve of what most people would experience. So I had to piece all that together on my own and then figure it out and put all the dots together. That's why I've got to this point now where I totally 100% trust what I'm given. So now I haven't seen anything for the last, since I turned 50. And I think that's so that I can just channel this information through now. But, you know, I would love to see something, but I don't think that's, maybe in the future it will all kick start again, but I'm not supposed to at the moment. While I'm on a training ground, I suppose, for channeling and connecting to my soul, and not looking externally outside for visitations anymore, and that side of it. But it's worked really well, because now I've stepped into the limelight of this and helping heaps more people understand themselves a little bit more, because I've been through all of that stuff before, and I've found out how to get myself out of it. Even in the logical sense of work, like going into work, I didn't have any education whatsoever, and yet I became a graphic artist just by throwing myself in the deep end and trusting my spirits and my guides. And like I literally walked off the street pretty much anyway, and said, I want to be a graphic artist. And these people were like, okay, do you know freehand and Photoshop programs? And I'd learned how to use a mouse. I knew nothing. And and here I am in this job. The first job I got was with an artist that had a big, huge ego, which actually went for me on my side, because he saw that I knew nothing and went, cool, I'm still the top dog. So yeah. They gave me a job that had to do a circuit board with all the little transistors and everything on it. I had to draw that up on my computer, not knowing anything, right? I literally had the first day, I had a ruler up on the computer. I knew nothing. And he's like, he saw that I knew nothing. So he flicked me a book and I read it. In 3 days, I actually finished that job. And then 3 years later, I was fixing up all his mistakes. He was useless. So like, it's just the matter of sometimes of throwing yourself in the deep end and then trusting that you will get through. If your heart, the most important thing is if your heart's in and you desire to know. It doesn't matter how far-fetched it is, whether it's learning telepathy, telekinesis, and all those awesome, wonderful, juicy things, connecting with different beings. If you say to the universe, you want to know and show me the next part, next step, just throw yourself in the deep end and see where it goes. You'll be probably very surprised.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So yeah, back to the trust again. You know, we've all got to, and you know, we've got to start working with source, right? The inner world and all this stuff that we're told doesn't exist, rather than the 3D world, because we see what that does, right? If we're caught in there, we just go around in circles and end up giving people permission to control us, which is obviously where we're coming out of now. So yeah, big changes, right? I mean, I was told when I was like 14, 15, you know, that there were going to be great, big, massive changes, and I'd get to see them and all this kind of stuff. And here we are, right? Only took 35 years, but we got there. So
yeah.
What do you see happening in the next couple of months? Do you see any ideas on that?
I feel that there was a wave that happened that came across humanity to help them step into their power from December through to March. And then after March, that I believe that the light workers will really step up their play and start to come out in droves of teaching others how to connect to their intuitive, imaginative side of themselves. And the people are going to start getting curiouser about that. And curiosity is what leads us into these next stages. As for the other side of things, it depends on who you are. You could feel like your reality is exploring into this amazing, juicy stuff, or you could still be hanging on to out of interest of what the old program is doing, and then be caught into that and then coming out, and then caught into that and then coming out, or you could be completely caught into that. So here we are. It's more to do with a vibration of the actual person themselves more than what reality is reflecting, because we can step into all sorts of different perceptions of reality depending on ourselves. For me, myself, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm slowly pulling back from sending notifications out of what's happening in that old world falling down. I still do it every now and then if I get a pull to do it, but I only ever do it from a point of, I am fear, no, don't do it. Am I pissed off? No, I don't do it. I don't touch it. But if I'm like, that's a bit of interesting information, I'm sure that people would want to know about that, and it's about them falling down, then I will put it up. Sometimes I put things up for a few days and then I get a feeling of, doesn't feel right now, take it off. And I trust that. I just keep trusting my gut feelings on things, because I know that there's certain souls that are specifically here to bring that down. And it's not necessarily my job. We've all got specific roles, even as light workers. Some light workers are in the thick of it all, of bringing it down. You know, matrix crackers like David Icke and people like that. People are stepping up in Parliament. I remember doing a meditation once where I was feeling into Parliament side of things, and I realized that I could wake up certain light workers that were in Parliament. So I imagined them waking up, and then I started seeing them on news starting to come out of the woodwork and going, we're not doing this anymore. So like in my reality, that's how it reflected back to me, and everyone else has that ability to do that. I'm just a human, just like everyone else. I just learned how to use my imagination and my intuition. Everyone has exactly the same ability that I have to do this work, but we have to come from love, right? Every step that we make, otherwise we're creating more issues for ourselves.
Yeah, just more blockages and karma and all that kind of stuff, isn't it? Yes, nice. So now you have a channel, obviously, Bobbie the Messenger. So I'll leave the links below.
Yeah, my YouTube channel is
YouTube.
Bobbie Dash the Messenger.
Yeah.
and my website is codestoanewreality.com.
Yep.
And I have an Etsy New Earth Products. So yeah, I sell my books, my dies, and a bit of artwork on some tote bags, but I'll probably expand that later on. But mainly the intuitive counseling, which you'll find on my website, which is, Codes to a New Reality, and then you click on intuitive counseling. That's just exploded. So if you feel you want to find out about your gifts or where you're going, then I tap in, tune in, and then off I go. Whatever messages come through, they come through for you. So
Right, so we'll leave all the links below. So yeah, if you want to have a bit of a closer chat with Bobbie, go down and jump onto the website. And also the dice you mentioned, you basically invented a product.
Although they're really difficult to fortune dice, but I'm doing them all handmade, so I haven't been promoting them as much now because the intuitive counseling has taken over, and that's easier for me to help lift the vibration of everyone. But that does exist. And also I do free readings for people. I haven't done them in the last couple of weeks because I was just infiltrated with readings. So, and I know Cambell sometimes visits, yay. But yeah, I do free readings. Usually once a week, I'll try to do those. Maybe a Monday, Tuesday. And then that's just general reading. And then whoever's online can get a couple of cards pulled for them. So it's a bit of fun more than anything. But I like to gift people things as well. Keep the energy flowing. Exactly
right. If you want to receive, you don't have to focus on receiving, just focus on giving, right? Because the rule says it'll come back sevenfold. So that's all, yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for your time. Like I said, we'll leave all the links below to all Bobbie's website, YouTube channel. So check that out. And if you want a card pulled, she does lives sort of once a week. And yeah, go and check it all out. And thanks for spending some time with us, Bobbie. It was a nice little chat there. Our first one-on-one. It was like talking to an old friend. There you go. Yeah. And that's the best way. Like we never organize anything. We just get on and have a chat and see what comes out. And always seems to work out pretty well. So thank you for spending some time with us. Maybe we'll have another chat in the future sometime. That'd be great. Thanks so much. No worries. Thank you. All right. And thank you, everyone who's watching. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you give us a like, a subscribe. Go across to Bobbie's channel, give her a subscribe, share that all around. And I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now. Yes, one-on-one. Gosh, I've got like fans blowing at me because our aircon broke like 10 days ago, and literally it's been 36 and over every day. And so if my hair's blowing around, it's because I'm doing the Hollywood thing. You're doing the Hollywood sweep. Brilliant. Love it. That's fun.